What's up guys, this is Balázs from Racing Brick. Earlier this year I had the chance to review the 2021 Speed Champions lineup and I loved it. And based on the YouTube statistics, you loved it too. So if anyone missed those reviews, then I really suggest to click on the link in the top right corner and watch the whole playlist. Shortly after my reviews were published, I had a unique experience during the LEGO FunMedia days. I had the honor to talk to Christopher Stamp, the mastermind behind the original Speed Champions line, and he also happens to be responsible for the transition of the theme to the new 8-stud wide format, and he's currently leading the design team. Talking to him was a fantastic experience. The guy is a true gearhead, and the discussion convinced me to get all the 2020 Speed Champions sets as well and take a closer look at the birth of the 8-stud wide lineup. We talked about a lot of things, some of them I cannot share yet, but I'll include everything I can about all of these cars here and the whole concept. We will take a look at the cars from 2020 and do a quick comparison to the 2021 lineup to see how they evolved. Let's get started. So, a little history lesson first. Speed Champions was launched in 2015, and if we scroll through the sets, there are two things to recognize. First of all, this team was focusing on the play experience besides the branded vehicles. There are minifigures, accessories, so it was clearly aimed at kids. The second was the weird proportion of the cars. With the 6-stud wide design, they were much longer than they're supposed to be in reality, but that was part of the toy car image back then. Fast forward to 2020, and there was a fundamental shift in design and in the whole approach. The design team really listened to the fans and did their best to move the whole product line to a brand new direction. The first and most important step was to make the vehicles 8-stud wide. There are almost no accessories, and the focus is clearly on the accuracy and realism, at least what is possible to achieve with LEGO bricks at this scale. We can also see a broader selection of cars. Previously it was US and European brands only, and mostly supercars and race cars. Well, the Ford F-150 Raptor and the Hot Rod was an exception, and frankly that set is still one of my favorites. It looks awesome. And yes, the Raptor even has a working suspension. Interestingly, this feature was not very popular among fans, at least that was the feedback the design team received, so that's why they decided to go for the look in the case of the Bronco instead of the functional suspension. So here we are with these cars, and we have improved realism and also a much more colorful lineup. Yeah, literally more colorful, but also in variety. Here's the first Japanese car, the Nissan GT-R Nismo, a Group B rally classic, the 1985 Audi Sport Quattro S1. And there are not one but two SUVs, the Lamborghini Urus STX and the Jaguar I-Pace e-Trophy. Looking at this selection of cars, you can see that compared to previous years, the team really started to experiment with new things, offering very different styles, cars from different periods and so on. Now let's take a closer look at them. Let's start with the Ferrari F8 Tributo, as this is one of the, let's say, more conservative vehicle choices. Putting it side by side with the 6-stud wide Ferrari F40, the advantages of the new format are clear as day. Much better proportions, way more details, significantly improved realism. The new format required some new pieces, like this windscreen that was used on the Lamborghini and 3 other 2021 cars. Interestingly, there was no undecorated version released in the set so far, all of them are printed. You could get an unprinted version from LEGO, but it's not available now and can be only found on Bricklink. There are also several other printed elements used, like this 1x4 plate with studs at the rear or the Nexo shields at the front. The 1x1 plate with the tiny little Ferrari logo on the side returned as well. Previously it was used on the F40. I didn't really find groundbreaking building techniques used in the car itself, but the overall look and the aesthetics is great. It looks really nice and detailed from every angle. At the rear you can appreciate the shifted rear lights and also the slightly protruding central section of the spoiler. Everything is super curvy on the real one, but these tiny details show the effort made by the designers to replicate it with mostly square bricks. The transparent engine cover also looks super accurate, and the front section has many small details to observe. There's one major flaw in the design, and it's about the driver. The guy looks nice in his branded t-shirt and jacket, but unfortunately he only fits in the driver's seat after a complete hair loss. Even with the helmet on, there will be a tiny gap below the windshield. He does not fit properly. With the big hairpiece, the problem becomes more obvious. Just for comparison and to show how the team at LEGO listens to feedback, you don't see this problem on the 2021 cars. Every driver sits there comfortably with their helmet on. Now to the Nissan GT-R Nismo. This is the first Japanese car in the theme, and it is a pretty powerful one. As a race car, it has tons of stickers, But interestingly, we have some printed parts as well, like these simple ones on the roof and on the hood that looks quite nice. The windshield piece is the other type of new element for the 8-stud white cars. This one comes unprinted, so a sticker had to be applied. The car itself is quite boxy, and the interior structure does not have big surprises, but we can find some interesting details on the outside. I love the different colored layers forming the splitter at the front, and the curved pieces on the hinges look great as well, although they are not fixed in place. The red accent continues on the side as well with upside down plate styles. Although the rear window is a standard flat piece, it follows the curvy lines of the roof nicely. The rear is again pretty complex, wedges upside down at the corners, the exhaust pipes, the part usage for the diffuser, the rear lights sitting at a specific angle, and the spoiler with some unusual pieces. The next car in the line is a true rally icon, the 1985 Audi Sport Quattro S1. I know if I said boxy to the Nissan, then what about this one? Well, in this case the real one actually looks like it was drawn by a kid, but it was an amazing feat of engineering. Excuse me for the stickers, this one comes from my son's collection, and the excitement of building apparently did not help with the precise positioning, but that's a common challenge with Speed Champions sets. This one has less stickers by the way than the Nissan, and also has two printed wedges at the rear apart from the printed hood at the front. I really like the front with the aggressive air dam and the additional lights. They can be removed if needed. A subtle detail, but take a look at this interesting part usage for the exhaust. The massive spoiler at the rear also looks great and the shaping is pretty accurate. All in all, I think the build has stunning colors and it captures the essence of the original very well. And now let's take a look at the double packs. First, the Formula E Panasonic Jaguar Racing Gen 2 car and Jaguar I-Pace E-Trophy. Holy cow, that's a long name. So, what do we get here? First of all, vehicles in very unusual and vibrant medium azure color. I really like it. Second, Jaguar was a brand new license for LEGO, and both of these cars are electric. I wouldn't mind an RC electric Jaguar in the Technic team either. Just saying. Let's see the more exciting one, the Formula E car. The real one has tons of curves and thin wings everywhere, so it was a brave choice to replicate it with LEGO at this scale. There are lots of details that work well, like the details of the front suspension, the halo and the cockpit, the special V-shaped panels at the rear, or the diffuser that is partially built upside down and has a quite clever connection. Of course, we can criticize the lack of color on the top of the front wheel covers, but due to the part usage it had to be in a single color. Adding a tile on top would make it too high and blocky, I think. Some fins and edges should be also much thinner, but that's what we can achieve at this scale. What about the other car? This is the Jaguar I-Pace E-Trophy, which is a racing version of the electric I-Pace SUV that had its own series running alongside Formula E but only lived for 2 seasons. These are massive and not particularly interestingly shaped cars in real life, so the LEGO version also looks, well, not particularly sophisticated. There are a few interesting sections though. The front grille and the surrounding area is very much worth to explore in details. Sections built normally sitting on top of upside down built parts, those small flags fitting perfectly at a specific angle. I think the designers really capture the essence of the car with this section. The rest is unfortunately less exciting, and as lots of details are added with stickers on the sides, they don't look that nice for 2 reasons. First, the stickers had to be applied separately, so there are these ugly gaps, and second, the color of the sticker does not really match the color of the brick. This double pack also has a cool accessory, this start line. In the 6-stud wide era, Speed Champion sets had way more accessories. In 2020, all we have left were the start lines in the 2 bigger sets. The designers kept these as based on fans' feedback these were the accessories previously that were used the most for racing, but apparently the focus kept shifting as in 2021 the accessories were omitted altogether. I really like this one by the way. There's a simple but clever Technic mechanism that lets you initiate the light sequence to start the race. Very simple but works well. So, here's the last set with the Lamborghinis. LEGO did not have a Lamborghini set for like a decade, but interestingly in 2020 they had the Speed Champions double pack and also the Technic Lamborghini Sian, and one of the Speed Champions cars was also Lime. I'm sure this was not a coincidence. Let's take a look at the Huracan Super Trofeo Evo first. This is a race car based on the Huracan that has its own series organized by Lamborghini Squadra Corse. First of all, I love the color scheme. The black and gold combination was always super successful in the history of car racing. This is the car where I really felt the advantage of the 8-stud white system. There are so many brick build details that did not fit previously. The whole angled front section with the metallic gold accents, the angled doors that are not openable unfortunately, but they still accurately represent the real thing. My favorite part is the pin and pinhole that holds the door at a specific angle. It does exist on the real car as well, that's the fuel cap. The part usage for the vertical fin is also brilliant. The Technic rotor blade is perfect for the job. An interesting little detail is the air intake in front of the fin. For the first sight, you don't understand why that stud was left exposed, why the smooth surface is not finished with a tile. But that would make the air intake disproportionately long compared to the real thing. Since that's the only attachment point to the rotor blade below it, there was no other part to use here. The spoiler is a bit too easy to misalign, but altogether I really like this car. So, how about the Urus? Well, it's a line box on wheels really. This is probably the least interesting car from the lineup for me. It has some nice details at the front with the hinged central part at the lower section, and it has a quite aggressive look from the side. But this one feels to be a filler, something to put next to the Great Huracan that had to be different. Of course, this is only my opinion. I'm sure there are people out there who love this car as well. I know this might be the only vehicle from the current Lamborghini lineup that is not a supercar, but maybe pairing it with a classic iconic Lamborghini, like in the case of the Corvettes, could have been a better choice. This pack also has a start line. The mechanism is more simple than the one in the Jaguar set, but I like this one as well. So, here are all the Speed Champions cars from the last 2 years. How do they compare? I think the evolution is clearly visible. 2020 was the first year to experiment with the 8-stud white concept, find a balance between form and function, and also try to figure out what type of cars do the fans really want. As you see, the accessories were completely removed. Some people might not be happy, but that happened based on the feedback from most fans. Some criticized details were also improved for this year, like the wheels. I know not everyone is happy again about the single-piece tire and rim combination, but to achieve a really low-profile look, LEGO had to go this way. A tire this thin could be damaged easily if it was removable. Luckily, the team was brave enough to experiment with new brands and new vehicles. I know a lot of you don't agree, but my personal favorite is still the Dragster and the Bronco. They are both very accurate in terms of length. The height might be questionable, but that's related to the minifigure. And as I mentioned previously, it's not a problem anymore for the driver to sit comfortably in these cars, even with the helmet on. I'm really happy to see this new direction for the theme. Turning the branded toy cars to small-scale LEGO models was the best that could happen with Speed Champions. So, what might be the next big step for 2022? Considering the dedication and focus of the team on the details and the realism, I'm pretty sure we won't be disappointed. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe and tap that notification bell if you don't want to miss my upcoming LEGO reviews and other LEGO RC videos. See you next time, bye bye.